Disarming the Citizen. Wrote this blog in response to a news article I watched earlier today on RT News, which is Russia Today, for those of you not in the know. Okay, so you may have heard in South Africa that they've had some protests at one of their platinum mines out there. Well, apparently, the police there, they opened fire and they killed nearly 30 people. And they claim that they did this in self-defense when the crowd rushed at them, and that they were armed with machetes and spears. Now, what the train of thought it got me on was, how is it that police forces around the world, are allowed to be armed, and yet the citizens are not? In many countries, for example, I'll talk from the position of the United Kingdom, because this is where I live. We literally are we're not allowed anything. Basically, anything that might be construed as a weapon, or might be construed to be used as a weapon that's carried on your persons, can be enough to get you into pretty serious trouble. I mean, anything from having a screwdriver in your pocket, or anything like that, or a knife over sort of 2 inches long. You could be looking at some serious time. However, yet the police forces are being constantly militarized. I mean, when you see an armed police officer and they're carrying a submachine gun, they're wearing, battle dress uniform, with the exception of no rucksack. They've got sidearm pistols. They've got flashbang grenades. You really have to sort of think, well, for a nation of disarmed and unarmed citizens, why do you need such heavy hardware? Now, I would say that I'm probably pro-gun ownership, purely on the basis that the reasons that are given for our guns have been taken away from us through various pieces of legislation just don't really wash up to me. I mean, for example, of course you had terrible tragedies such as the Dunblane incidents, which included a guy going into a school and shooting 16 children dead using pistols before turning the gun on himself. And knives. There was the Stephen Lawrence case where a young teenager was stabbed to death in southeast London back in 1993. These both resulted in quite hefty legislations going through on knife control, gun control, carrying knives on a person, and outright banning of pistols in the United Kingdom. Now, does banning pistols to the general public stop gun crime? No, it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Purely because the government are unable to stop the spread of weapons. They could try and stem the flow, but they can't stop it. And any criminal out there who's intent on getting hold of a gun will get one. So what does that mean? What do these legislations and these bans mean? Well, as far as I'm concerned, that they just mean that that you and I, the general public, Mr. Joe Bloggs, is not allowed to own a firearm, for leisure purposes. It might just be that you would like to have them on your wall. But the simple fact is that choice has now been taken away from you, from the actions of a few individuals. Now, personally, just going ahead and carte blanche banning of things, is a really inept and stupid way of trying to deal with a problem. Look, guys, at the end of the day, if somebody is going to go out and hurt people, they're going to do it regardless. They will find different and ingenious ways of doing it. It's going to get to a point where they're going to be banning chopsticks because they can be sharpened to a spike. You know, I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous to turn around. Now, gun crime is a problem, and it is rife, but through careful, um, allowing people to have guns is not going to really increase crime. I mean, we have very stringent gun controls for things like shotguns, um, rifles, that kind of thing, and yet, you don't see many people getting killed with shotguns and whatever. Um, so I mean, I don't believe, honestly, that it would increase gun crime exponentially. Providing that you use common sense. Um, when applying these things, I mean, if a guy's got a criminal record and he's got a violent history, of course he shouldn't have a gun. But yeah, if you have a guy who's never done a thing wrong in his life and he wants to own a gun, whether it be a handgun, shotgun, a rifle, whatever, if he can prove he has adequate lockup space, and he turns around and says, right, I'm a member of this association and that association, and I'm going to be using it for this. Why shouldn't he be able to have that gun? And the other side of it, of course, is defence as well. I mean, look, if you've got two banks on your left hand side, you've got one bank, and it has no armed guards, and then on the other side you have a bank. On the right hand side you have a bank, and it has guards armed to the teeth. Now, if you're going to rob that bank, not that I'm saying that you should, by the way, but if you do decide to do that, which one are you going to go for? The common sense dictates you'll go for the one with the unarmed. Why? Because it's a soft target. And that's exactly the same with people. Yeah? If you've got guys roaming the streets, as there are, wanting to commit crimes, wanting to do bodily harm to people, if they know that that person that they're going to attack might be carrying a can of mace, or a taser, or a gun, yeah, they're going to think twice before they do that, because that is going to result in serious harm. At the moment, what we have is the threat of totally inadequate prison sentences. If you want to make people feel safe, yeah, if you want to reduce crime, honestly, bring out some hefty sentences. Bring back some hard labour, but also bring back, gun ownership and allow people to have guns. Because if you look at the statistics in places like America, gun crime is a problem, but also in areas where people are allowed to carry concealed weapons and that kind of thing, gun crime is quite low, because people were just not willing to take the risks. See? Overall, crime in the UK is appalling. Overall. Okay? But when you look at the statistics, the truth of it is violent crime and crime against the persons is increasing. Alright? Now, as things are going to get tougher, because in this country we certainly have not seen the beginning of the austerity levels, and as money gets tighter and things get tighter, you are going to see more and more desperate people willing to do those kinds of things, because at the moment, under the current system that we have, people are just not being punished to deter the crime. So I will go and I will say, hand on heart, I think that general gun ownership is a good thing, but it must be properly regulated, it must be properly legislated, and the licenses must be properly, vetted. But barring that, I don't see why people shouldn't be allowed to have weapons. Because otherwise it is going to get silly. This is all about a simple choice. Now, under the current system, the current legislation, I don't have a choice. I am not allowed anything on my persons which may be used to defend myself. I'm not allowed that, and nor do I carry anything. However, there have been instances where I've had knives and things like that pulled on me. So it does show that criminals are carrying these weapons, and they are willing to carry these weapons. And is it fair for for these, wishy-washy liberals? And is it fair for them to really turn around and say you cannot carry nothing to defend yourself with? The police do a good job in Britain, in the United Kingdom. They do a very good job, and it's tough for them. But the problem is that we don't have a legal system which defends the rights of the victims. Crimes are just not being punished enough. And yeah, so getting back to gun ownership, regardless of what you want the gun for, if you are an upright, standing citizen of the community, you've never been in trouble, you don't have you don't have any criminal injunctions or anything like that against you, personally, I cannot see why you cannot own whatever type of firearm you want. Granted, military grade stuff, probably a bit extreme, probably a bit over the top. I certainly don't want the guy down the road owning an RPG or a Kalashnikov. But if you want to own a pistol to go down the local firing range with, well, that's your choice. It's no different to golf. So yeah, okay guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and sorry if I ranted on a bit. Alright, take care, keep it real.